Thank you so much for creating this platform and inviting me to share my story and hopefully spark some inspiration and hope in other young girls. So I'm happy to be here. Yeah, so I'll do a brief introduction to myself first and like tell you all like where I work and what I do and then dive more into that question because I think it's a great one. But again, my name is Mitzy González and I live in Central Florida and I work at the University of Central Florida, which is one of the largest public universities in the country. We have almost 70,000 undergraduate students, 70,000 students at our institution. So definitely a very large institution that's committed to serving and helping students advance in their goals and their dreams. But I'm also part of an organization called the University Innovation Alliance, which is a network of institutions that partner together close close the equity gap and ensure that more first generation low income students and students of underrepresented backgrounds get to the finish line and that they have a successful career post college. So in terms of what made me passionate about this work, from a very young age, I can remember my mom telling me, El futuro depende de ti, which means the future depends on you. And I always took that very literally in terms of for my family unit as a first generation Latina, growing up in an all Spanish speaking home. I felt that pressure of I need to make sure that I do well because if not, my parents made so many sacrifices for me to get here that I owe it to them. And so I really took that quote that she would always tell me very literally in terms of my family unit. It wasn't until I got to college when I realized, my education is not just for my own success or my family's success. Our success is all interconnected. And so my success impacts, like if I graduate college and go on into a career, impacts the Latino community, impacts other women, impacts for other first generation identifying individuals. And so I started living into, yes, the future depends on me, but it shouldn't all depend on me. Like I need other people in the journey with me. So I started living out by the quote, the lift as you climb. And so as I climb my own personal ladder of success, I want to make sure I'm lifting up others along the way, specifically students who may feel that they aren't seen in higher education. They may not be able to make it. So I think this is great that you have this platform to encourage other young girls like, hey, I was there too. And there was a time where I thought I couldn't make it, but I saw someone who looked like me or encouraged me. And just planting those seeds along the way is really powerful. So I'm just a very goal oriented individual. And I think that we need more students from all backgrounds to be in education because their voice matters. And we're not going to be able to solve these big global issues if we only have certain people at the table. I think we can see through leadership that the more diverse your team is, the more creative your solutions are, and the more innovative they are. Yeah, I when I read this question, my mind automatically went to like the internal narratives that we play, and so I am Puerto Rican, and in the Latino culture, it's I think it's common in a lot of, but I grew up in a very machismo oriented home and very patriarchal, so like where the man has the authority, what they say goes, and I think I saw that and I observed those behaviors in terms of the roles women play in the home, the roles women play in society, in my family unit. And I always saw, although I saw very strong, resilient women in my family, I also saw them in playing more of a little submissive role. And so part of me just never could I wanted to resist that but I would still play these internal narratives of like maybe I'm shouldn't be in that space or maybe my dad was in the military. I was like that doesn't seem like a path I could take or I'm really good at math but maybe I'm not smart enough to be a mathematician or a scientist and I think those internal narratives were the ones that probably limited me from the opportunities is the stories I kept creating in my mind because of some things I observed but my mom day told me, I think this really was like a turning point for me, is she said, and I'll say it in Spanish and English, but yo veo en ti la mujer que yo hubiera querido ser, which means I see in you the woman I would have wanted to be. And that was a turning point for me because I said, although I'm going to close so many doors prematurely on my own accord, if I keep playing in my mind, I'm not good enough or I'm not smart enough. My mom sees in me a strong, smart, capable woman. I need to see that in myself too. So I specific examples in terms of an opportunity that was closed, I can't speak to, but I will say that there it does come a turning point where I think a lot more doors will open for you if you start believing that me being a woman is a strength. Me being a Latina is a strength. Me being a first generation immigrant in the United States is a strength. And I think when you start reframing those things that society may try to tell you are barriers, you're going to go so much further. So I think that was a turning point for me, is just understanding that people around me were seeing really great things in me. I just needed to start seeing that for myself.
Yeah.
I guess the first thing I would ask is, what kind of friend are you in your friend group? Right? Like everyone has like a role in their friend group. And I feel like oftentimes when we're really close with friends, we want to be the encourager, right? If your friend came to you and said, man, I'm struggling with this XYZ, or your automatic disposition would be, oh my gosh, you got this. Like you're going to do so great. I think as friends, we tend to want to always be encouraging towards our friends, right? And I would say, are you doing that same for yourself? And so if there's a position that you're striving towards, you may not have all the tools right now to be in that role, but that doesn't mean you can't work towards them. And so I think it all really does, and it sounds very cliche and emotional. I am a social worker by training. I have my master's in social work, so I do love emotions and feelings. But I think it starts from within. I think you have to, an activity that I do to this day is I look at myself in the mirror and I speak affirmations to myself. I am smart. I am capable. I'm going to do better tomorrow. I'm going to learn. I'm going to continue to embrace my learning, and I'm going to get better and better. And so I think, if you don't, representation matters. So if you aspire to be a CEO or a president of something, you may not see that. You may not see women in those roles right now. You may not see, for example, president. You may not see that yet, but that doesn't mean it's not possible. And so I think you really have to just firmly believe in your why, believe in your purpose, and believe in your strengths, and know that every day I'm going to work to get better to be there. And so I would say, be the friend to yourself that you are to your friends, and work every day. It's going to take hard work to get to those places. I graduated my bachelor's at the age of 20, my master's at the age of 22. I'm 28 now, and there's so many dreams and goals that I still want to work towards, and I may not feel ready for them just yet, and that's okay. But I'm going to continue to work towards them to get there. So it's very cliche too. Like, trust the process. It's a journey. It's not a sprint.
Yeah. And adding on to like what you said about like being a friend to yourself and like also just holding a position as like a CEO, you don't actually have to like have that position to like value yourself and like value your worth. Like you can be anything. You could be a nurse, you could be just like a teacher and you're already making a change. Just like girls in general, like around the world, don't have that. They don't think they're capable of doing such
Yeah.
like roles in society.
And I think too, oftentimes we attribute those titles to equal leadership.
Yeah.
Leadership happens at all levels. It happens within your family unit. I mean, I, as a young girl, was my family's translator and interpreter. So although I didn't maybe have traditional leadership roles that I saw my friends doing, I didn't do sports. I didn't have the finances to do club teams or recreational teams, but I was a leader in my family. And I learned to embrace leadership skills and attributions early on. And so I think, oftentimes I hear people say, I want to be a CEO, I want to be a president, because they say, I want to be a leader. It's not necessarily the title, it's they want to be a leader. And I would say, you are a leader already. You just need to it's like you just have to continue to cultivate that leadership that's within us, and the title doesn't necessarily equal leadership. I think that's pretty evident in a lot of the way our world runs today. We can see a government and someone may hold a title, but that doesn't necessarily always mean they're a great leader. So I just want to encourage women from and girls from all over the world that um, they are leaders today, and they just have to continue to cultivate that leadership within.
Yeah, I'm like, I know a lot of people know this girl, Greta Thunberg. Like, she didn't start with like any leadership experience. She just started with her own beliefs and things that she values. So, like, starting in the streets and protesting for climate change, like, now it's led to such a big movement that like so many people follow. So, yeah,
Exactly.
just like to all the girls like listening out there, like, you don't have to have like a position or connections to really do anything. You can start in your own community, in your small community, and yeah, even if like you come from like a poor country, like you can do something
Mhm.
in any space, in any situation.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. You know, I'm oftentimes the only woman in a room in some meetings. I'm oftentimes the only Latina in a room. I'm oftentimes the youngest in the room. And that I, I've had to sort of wrestle with myself. Okay, just because there's no one else here in this room doesn't mean I'm not meant to be in this room. And I think that is sometimes hard as I have to battle within and again, imposter syndrome is very real, but it also is a lot of these internal narratives, and it's like an internal battle that we have, that I'm not X enough, or I'm not this enough, and we filter how we present ourselves because of that. And so my boss, I'm grateful for great supervisor and a great boss. And he told me, I didn't hire you to be quiet. I want to hear your voice. I want to learn from your ideas. And so I think having someone who I was able to share what I was struggling with and them encouraging me in that way was really powerful. So I think vulnerability is true strength. And so if you have people in your life that you can share, like, hey, like, I'm struggling with this. Maybe you don't have the language just yet to say this is imposter syndrome, but you can just say, this doesn't feel right. Because the thing about imposter syndrome, when we feel it, we know it doesn't feel right. We're like, no, but it's like this battle. I am smart, but maybe I'm not smart enough to be in this space. Oh my gosh, did I only get in because I'm Latina? And so I think we're always fighting those narratives, but it's really, what's been really helpful for me to fight against that is to, again, the affirmations, but also to have a community of people that I can be vulnerable with, to say, hey, I'm struggling with this. Um, and then we all like to hear positive things, right? Like, people can say, but I see a great leader in you. I loved, remember that one time when you did XYZ thing and the impact it had. So sometimes we just need to be reminded of just how special we are. So yeah, I definitely experience it. I still do. And I think I likely will, but continue to do it. But it's definitely improved because of my ability to cope with it.
Yeah. I went to a girl conference and we were talking about imposter syndrome. And then someone texted on like a Slack channel, like, what's a quote that like you really resonated with? And someone said, you miss all the shots you don't take. I feel like growing up, like that has definitely like I don't know, it just made me realize all the opportunities I could have had to grow and to learn, but I just didn't take the chance. I like didn't like just try. Like, it doesn't matter if you fail. It's like even with Dear Global Girls, I remember when we started it, we were really scared that we wouldn't be able to continue and like work with it throughout school, but we're like, we're gonna do this. Like, it's fine. Like,
Yeah.
I have like a team, like Sophianne, everyone else, like in Dear Global Girls, like they're all so excited to be here and so dedicated. And I don't want to let them down. I don't want to let anyone down. I also don't want to let myself down. So
Yeah.
yeah, like throughout the
That's
school,
great.
like I really want to like put forth like what I dreamed of having, which is a magazine. Like, I remember Talia and I, who's the other founder, we like started one in the seventh grade, a magazine, just like talking about current news, and it ended up like doing pretty well. Like, it stopped the next year, but like now, like here we are making like a global magazine for girls. I don't know, like just crazy to think.
It's huge. And Sandra, what you just said is so powerful. And you, again, it goes back to like el futuro depende de ti. The future depends on you. You did that because it was a vision that you had. It was a dream that you had. But in the moment, you don't realize the impact it's going to have, not on just you and your own professional journey and your friends' professional journey, your friends, but like it's the impact is huge, right? And so I think when if we start realizing that when I say no to myself, I am potentially saying no to someone else too, because by someone seeing you what you going after your dreams in the bold way that you did, it inspires them. Maybe they have an idea too, and they're like, "But she did it. Maybe I could do it too." So I just think it really is like a chain effect. When we go after our dreams in a bold way, it inspires others to do the same. So kudos to you for doing that. And I think in terms of that quote that you said, you miss all the shots that you don't take. I always tell, I've been telling myself a lot, you know, my word of intention for 2020 was go, which to me was just sort of, I overanalyze everything. And so I oftentimes put barriers in front of I I I s I assess a situation way too long, and then it limits me from actually taking action on something. So I'm trying to live out the word go. And by doing that, it does require to taking risks. And my friends always remind me, what's the worst thing that could happen? They say no, you tried, you know? And so I, I think we have to be okay to accept and embrace the word no, because the no could just be not right now. It doesn't have to be rejection. It could be redirection. It's redirecting you to something better and bigger. So I think just telling ourselves that is a really powerful tool.
Yeah, thank you. Um, you're also so inspiring. Like I don't know how to explain it. And like every single thing you said can literally be a quote in a book.
It probably is. You know, I've probably heard it at some point, and now I'm just like regurgitating it. So I definitely won't take credit for like the things I'm saying. And that's something I want to say is that I am who I am today because of the people who have invested in me. Like you that quote where we stand on the shoulders of giants. That I've mentioned my mom several times already during this interview, and that's because she has invested so much in me. And I know that you know my grandparents, great grandparents, like it's all a chain effect. And my friend groups inspire me. So I guess I just want to say, like, you see me here today, and yes, I may have my master's degree, I have a career, and I'm doing awesome work, I really love it, but I didn't get here alone. And I think that's really important for all of us to remember, that we do live in such an interconnected globe, that your success is so entangled in my own. And so as you know, if I'm able to spark and inspire someone, awesome. But that's this it goes both ways.
Okay, that was a lot. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe down below. And a huge thank you to Mitzy for doing an interview with us. If you'd like to see more content like this, make sure to click the bell to get notified every time we post. And of course, thank you so much, Sophianne Leung, for documenting and joining us in this interview.